Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Here we are, first session of the morning. Circular economy. We're going to talk from recycling to reuse, or to reusing, I should say. Good morning, Celia. How are you?
Good morning, Fernando. I'm very fine, and you?
Very good. Well, in a bit unexpected role, as the moderator has not been able yet to arrive. He's running a bit late because of the Parisian traffic, but here we are. It's a pleasure to be all this morning with you to do a keynote speech together with my dear friend Celia on how we go from recycle to reuse. And we are indeed the, I'll let Celia to present first.
Okay, thank you, Fernando. So my name is Celia Rennesson. I co-founded 8 years ago an association called the Réseau Vrac et Réemploi, which means the network for refill and reuse economic players in France. And since then, I am managing it with a team of 10 people.
Indeed, and I'm the director of New Era, which is the European homologue of Réseau, Vrac et Réemploi. We are very much inspired by the amazing work that Celia and her team has done over the last years. And yeah, we're really trying to replicate it at the European level. So here we have a little presentation, Celia, if you want.
So Réseau Vrac and Réemploi, we created it 8 years ago to democratize, refill, and reuse systems in our everyday consumption. But 8 years ago, the market didn't really exist in France. So what we do is that we created the condition to structure the market. And the first steps is doing lobbying to create the right, the legal basis for refill and reuse to exist. Thus, we also created technical supports, materials and working group to guide enterprises, companies to develop their business in this new market. In parallel, we created also tools to develop this market, to develop businesses and activity in refill and reuse FMCG sector. We created a kind of fair like this one, but which is totally dedicated to refill and reuse solutions that we will present you in the end with Fernando, and that happens for the 6th edition in May in the Parc Floral of Paris, the 13th and 14th of May. We also do studies to understand the system, how to measure it, and what is the potential of this new model. And finally, we make promotion, because a lot of people know about recycle, but they do not know about refill and reuse. While it is in our everyday life, it is also in multi-sectors, from FMCG to HoReCa, but also to automotive industry. Refill and reuse is everywhere and has to be known more and more. That's why we do a lot of awareness-raising campaigns. And right now, in March, it is our dedicated month, Refill and Reuse Month edition, nationally, and it is the 3rd one happening this year.
Thank you very much, Celia. So yeah, New Era, as I said, the European Business Federation representing this whole diverse reuse and refill value chain, from the manufacturing to the cleaning and washing services. We are quite young, I would say 15, 16 months now. As Celia said, we need to educate all policymakers, stakeholders, and express and transmit the message that today we don't have equal regulatory and economic conditions to compete against single-use packaging. So that's what really try to do throughout the different elements that Celia mentioned. Structure the sector, do lobbying actions, develop it as well throughout trade fairs, and also obviously promote it via awareness-raising campaigns. So diving into now what we are going to present today, because it's important that we understand a bit the context and where we are coming from.
So everybody knows about recycle, and I guess and I hope you know a bit also about refill and reuse. But do you know about the 3R hierarchy? The 3R hierarchy was set to optimize the management of waste. And it said that first you need, before you put on the market a product or a packaging, you need to think about reducing what you are going to put on the market. Then you need also to think about reusing a lot to save the raw materials that we need to produce. And then, in the end, everything that you produced, after you reduced and you reused, in the end, you need to make them 100% ideally recyclable. This is the 3R hierarchy. But for 60 years, we've been only focusing on the last one, recycle, which doesn't make sense when you know about the system, because we should have been focusing and spending our energy, spending our money on developing systems that focus on reduce and reuse, whereas on focusing on recycle first. We are not saying that they should be opposite, because in the end, a reused product or reused packaging will have to be recycled. We are just saying that we should go upstream the value chain, upstream the 3R hierarchy now. And we are going to tell you why. Because now, and for at least 10 years, 20 years, 60 years ago, we have been increasing our packaging waste. And in Europe, it's plus 21% of packaging waste increase in 10 years. And at the same time, recycle rates in general, so for all materials, because you know as us that, for example, some materials benefit from better rate in recycling than others. For example, glass, whereas plastic is not at its maximum at the moment. So we have an increase on one hand of packaging waste, and on the other hand, we are stagnated at the European level on the recycle rate. We are back at the 2010 years ago rate, which is not possible in the moment when you know that the way we consume explode, and we do consume a lot outside, not in our place. The e-commerce also exploded, and the COVID crisis make all the packaging industry exploded even more. But for the first time in our lives, laws, European laws from multi-countries, so you have the European law PPWR, Fernando is going to tell you about, but also French law, AGEC, and also German law and Spanish law introduced for the first time objectives to reduce and reuse packaging. That's why now it's time to go from the recycle mindset and model to the reduce and reuse model and enter in this new era. So how work reuse? As you understand, it is a perpetual circle, because you extract some raw materials to produce something, to produce a packaging. You bought a product, and instead of throwing this packaging, so this packaging doesn't become a waste, it stays as it is, so you do not throw your bottle, you keep the bottle. And then you just give it back to a collection point where it will be cleaned, dry, and reused again for a second, third, until maybe 50 times. This is the perpetual circle of reuse and the model that we need to develop. As you know, or maybe you do not know, but by looking at those photos, you will understand that reuse packaging is already everywhere. We call it primary packaging, which is the packaging that's wrapping your product in FMCG sector, but also in automotive. You have it also in HoReCa sector, restaurants. We have it also on secondary packaging to group the products and transport them. And then also the third and logistics packaging. You have it also for e-commerce, for dry goods, for liquids. It's already there in our systems. We have the laws that are going to pushing them. Now we need to jump and to scale up. Because the benefits are huge. Of course, you understand the first benefits that we can gain are environmental. By doing this circle, we preserve, we save the resources, the raw materials, water, but also CO2 emission. And we make those products last many times, many life cycles. But the benefits are not only environmental, but also economic and social, because we are creating a new market beside recycle. And this new market, it's a 10 billion opportunity in Europe. And also, this, as a new market, you create new jobs, new industry. And then the potential is so huge in Europe. 600,000 jobs can be created beside recyclers. So now we need to embrace the new market, jump into it, and scale it.
Thank you very much, Celia. So yeah, here, to be honest, I don't know if it's going to work. There is a video that we wanted to showcase that we launched last year, which explains, I think, better than us speaking what reuse systems are and what the benefits are. I don't know if, no, it doesn't work. No problem. Okay, so I invite everyone to go on our website to check it out. Yeah, it's a 4-minute video. It's available in 5 languages, English, German, French, Spanish, and Italian. And yeah, we did it, and now you will see because of the PPWR negotiations. It was really, really tough, and to be honest, yeah, I think we captured in 4 minutes what reuse systems are, what are the benefits, and indeed, as Celia said, that reuse is now everywhere, and you can see it there, so please go for our website and check it out. Then I'm going to dive into the PPWR, which is being recently agreed within the EU institutions, as we need as well the policy to somehow support all the efforts that reuse operators are doing across Europe and beyond. So we have had, over, I would say, 18 months of very heated discussions in the European institutions and also at member states level. And recently, beginning of March, the EU institutions finally agreed on a text that now should be and hopefully validated in the next weeks and months. What this text contains, it's very important for, it's a very comprehensive, I would say, law that covers not only reuse, but also other elements across the waste management system. But for the first time, we have some mandatory reuse measures and refill measures included in the text, which is, I would say, an important milestone. So yeah, here you see we have these very controverted reuse and refill targets, also refill obligations and reuse offer in the HoReCa sector, restrictions for food contact packaging that contains PFAS. We also have, when it comes to plastics, has to be minimum recycled content in the plastic containers that we place in the market. We also have the obligation to reduce packaging by minimizing the empty space ratio in the packaging itself. We also have some restrictions for single-use packaging products, following a bit the example of the French anti-waste law, exactly, and circular economy law. And also finally, some waste prevention targets that we're also missing. Finally, we've put some targets there for the 2030, 2040 horizons. Plus, more also on recyclability, we have some more stringent measures to separate collection for single-use plastic bottles and containers. Let's dive 1 second at the targets, which is obviously maybe one of the most interesting, I would say, measures that has been adopted at the PPWR. It's trying to cover pretty much the whole spectrum of sectors where reuse is being used. So on one hand, we have the transport packaging sector, including e-commerce, where we have some targets for 2030 and 2040, up to 40 and 70%, which is good. However, there are some nuances, and I must say we were a bit disappointed because even though you cannot believe it, for e-commerce and also for transport packaging, cardboard boxes have been exempted. So we'll have to see what's the real impact of that, because obviously today a large majority of the single-use containers that are used for e-commerce and transport come in a cardboard box. So that's, I would say, a bit, reducing the ambition, but there it is. Anyway, I think it's important to have some transport packaging. And by the way, for transport packaging, this has been now running for decades. I would say, since the 90s or even 80s before. A lot of sectors and industries have been using for internal logistics and also for shipping food products as well, plastic crates and other kind of reusable containers. Then we have, on the other side, the beverage sector, which as well in countries like in Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium as well, it's very much developed, as you know, especially in the HoReCa sector. Today now we are also targeting the business to consumer area by putting some targets mandatory for 2030 and also a bit higher for 2040. There are also some exemptions, what we call highly perishable drinks, milk and wine products. One important thing to make, because it's all fine and dandy to have reuse targets, but we need to set up the necessary measures to make sure that the reuse systems work properly. So we have this important take-back obligation that includes the consumers and across the whole value chain, all the suppliers or the operators, distributors need to bring back the packaging once used. And then we also have some takeaway, was I would say, here we have Tim afterwards will tell us about his experience with Vital. One of the most controverted ones, whether we had to get targets for takeaway or not. Eventually, we have reuse offer for food and drinks. No targets, but at least the HoReCa distributors will have to offer consumers reusable containers. As well, they will be obliged to accept consumers bringing their own packaging. And finally, we have the retailers, where I would say it's a bit shy as well. We have not 20, but 10% of space. 20% is actually in the French law. That's why I'm confused. 20% of space dedicated to refill stations, if the premises are a bit over 400 meters square. So that's on the targets. And then other measures that are interesting to know, and maybe our panelists will go deeper. We have some infrastructure regarding the DR schemes that will have to be set up to ensure the collection of both single-use and also obviously leverage from that infrastructure to use it for reusable packaging. We have some reuse and refill requirements when it comes to the governance, the traceability, distribution of cost of the systems, health hygiene standards, and so on. And we also have other more general circular measures regarding recyclability. All packaging will have to be not recyclable, but really recycle at scale, because one thing also for reusable, it's important to distinguish between what is reusable or what is recyclable and what actually gets recycled or gets reused, and that's what we need to aim for. And there are some elements that have not been addressed yet. The role of EPR schemes, even though they have, which is good, to invest at least minimum share of their budget, as it is the case in France. Citeo will explain it afterwards, what they're doing here in France. But voilà, a bit in a nutshell, that's a bit what the PPWR says. And as we said, we are very excited because here in less than 2 months, we are co-organizing with Réseau Vrac the sixth edition of the Refill and Reuse Trade Fair, which will be the first time we are going international. We expect over 2,000 visitors from a very diverse wide of industries and sectors. Over 200 innovative solutions will be showcased and exhibited at the Parc Floral.
30 conferences.
Program of 30 conferences.
30 conferences and masterclass only dedicated to refill and reuse solution, and 75 speakers in Paris.
Exactly. So please, you have here the website to join us. And cherry on the cake, we have the Reuse Learning Expedition across Paris the following day, on the 15th, where everyone that wants to join will be delighted by seeing how reuse stakeholders in Paris are implementing reuse in action. So we'll have a washing facility, refill of cosmetics, takeaway, both for food packaging in-store and on the go. And we will end up with a very nice zero-waste buffet with other industry experts. So please join us also in Paris on 13, 14, 15 May. It's been great. I mean, we made it. Time is up, 12 seconds to go.
Perfect.
Crazy. So I hope you like it, the conference. And we give now the room to our panelists that we will go a bit deeper on the subject. So
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.